Welcome, everyone. I messed up the time situation. I told Gaz 2 o'clock, told Mav 2 o'clock, wrote on YouTube 3 o'clock like an idiot. But I'm here to talk about Starfield. Yes, a game that will have you going in and out of menus, traveling to distant planets through loading screens. But we'll get into this game later. For now, welcome. All right, enough of that. I did mess up. Yeah, that's my review. That's it. Travel to distant planets, in and out of loading screens and menus, and it's over. Game's trash. Complete, utter trash. I am sorry I misled you. No, people are going to just clip that, Gaz, and just run with it, right? Yeah. Fonz says it sucks. Yeah, it's trash. No, but for real, people, I'm having a blast with the game. We're gonna be getting into that a bit later. But first, I want to introduce my good friend Mav from Fun Speculation. Welcome, Mav. Welcome back for another week, 2 weeks in a row now. Welcome.
Was it last week I was here too?
Was it?
Wow. I don't know.
I think it was. Yeah, it was.
I'm in a Starfield delirium right now. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what day it is. Man, it's awesome to be here, Fonz. Thanks for inviting me, man.
Of course,
I've been
man.
spending so much time in loading screens. It's been a blast. So much fun.
Gaz, my other good friend here. Gaz, welcome. There he goes. Demonetized. Yeah. Gaz, look, before we get into all this stuff, I just want to say, well, you had a great time a couple of weeks back. You went to Gamescom, right?
Yeah, that was amazing.
And I heard you met a lot of people and stuff. But I wanted to ask you, I wanted to get you on last week because I wanted to talk to you about the Gamescom situation. But when you went to Gamescom, I know you had a great time and stuff. I saw the videos and everything. But I overheard you talking about certain games that you got to play. Stalker 2 was one of those games that we're all kind of looking forward to. And you kind of had some negative things to say about it, but I just wanted to get your take.
Who played it? It was
Owen, you didn't play it.
Who played it? No, I didn't get to play it. In characteristic fashion, I was very late to everything.
And then, there you go.
Yeah, it was
well, if you stay up all night, to 4 or 5 a.m., doing things, you're not going to get up on time for shit. Come on.
I know, that's the problem. My friends are worse than I am, so we were just partying up every day, and then we'd wake up very late. But when I got there, Erwin and Boxenberger had played the game, and they both had very opposite impressions. Erwin thought the game looked like ass, and Boxenberger thought it looked nice. All running on PCs, so it just, I don't know, man. I'm erring on the side of caution because I've seen Stalker 1. If you ever followed that whole fiasco, this is years ago.
Yeah,
this is a game that was going to kill Half-Life. It was going to be like, everything, and I was waiting for it. The bull shots were like really impressive, and just like Stalker 2. Just like Stalker 2 looks incredible, too good to be true kind of visuals, the same kind of thing apply. So before I went to Gamescom, I was saying, the game that I'm most intrigued to check out is Stalker 2 to see whether it lives up to it. So I haven't seen it, but I'm now erring on the side of caution because that is exactly the kind of game.
Well, the one thing I will tell people, though, is that overall what I've heard is that it felt really good.
The feeling, the gameplay, everyone said is really good.
Yeah.
They said that the mechanically was really good, and that's very important, more so than the visuals.
Of course.
But Stalker 2, we'd be
unless you're a Sony guy, then all you care about is those visuals, right? That's it.
Well, that too, but I think you'd be lying to yourself if you said a big part of the appeal for Stalker, especially Stalker 2. Stalker 2 definitely the appeal.
It looked really good at the events and stuff that we saw. So I think I have what. There was a Gamescom trailer that played, right? That we got. Let me see if I can pull that out. Yeah, I think this is the Gamescom trailer.
With this magic and this new overlay. It looks so sexy.
Well, I had to do it for Starfield. Starfield is just, it's overtaken my I don't have much time to spare to play a game right now. I've got so much going on, but every little bit of time I do get, it's on Starfield. I'm addicted to that game, and it's crazy how much it met my expectations and kind of gave me more than that. There's certain aspects, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's certain aspects of the game that I feel fall short, but it doesn't ruin my experience at all. Like I'm enjoying the game so much. So this is Stalker 2 that we saw. This is the Gamescom trailer. So this is the latest look of the game. It doesn't look bad to me. Looks all right.
It looks good. I haven't played it, so I'm very reserving judgment. But it looks.
Did he say what he didn't like about it? The visuals, or was he just said it just looks like ass?
Visuals. Just the visuals. It was only just the visuals. But it looks good. It looks really good. I just want to see it in action.
I do too. Yeah. I do too. And of course, with everything that was going on with them, the war and everything. I mean, you got to understand, it's very hard for them to concentrate on this game. There were several points where we didn't think this game was even going to come out. So it's kind of a crazy thing that it is coming soon. So
crazy,
that's pretty nuts. But I just wanted to ask you about that. But did you get to play anything there, or were you late to everything, Gaz?
I got to play Armored Core. I got to play Tekken. I got to play some other what was that indie game everyone was going on about, which I didn't really think was all that. What else?
Anything that stood out to you though that you really enjoyed?
I actually really enjoyed Tekken. Tekken actually looks very beautiful.
But you love Tekken though.
I've always loved Tekken. But yeah, so Tekken looked great though in terms of visuals. The Unreal Engine, I think it's on UE5. His game looks beautiful. So it really ran well. I kicked the crap out of Boxenberg, which was fun. And I kind of got to see like Forza up front, right in front of us. The guy was just playing it and just watching it look really nice. In the screen right in front of you. I was telling him what to do, like, go third person, pick this car. I just want to see some of the stuff. The ray tracing is confirmed now. It was in 60 in track. I think the thing with Gamescom is, so this is the absolute fuckery with this show. We went on the content creator event. We finally managed to get the pass for it. Mm-hmm. And guess what happens? Somehow everyone finessed it. The general public pretended to be tradespeople and managed to get tickets. There were thousands of people there. And it was like, what the hell, man? And how did you guys get in here? So that really scuppered our chances of doing developer interviews, getting that coverage and content for people. There would be an abundance of content if we hadn't had to contend with the general public on a non-general public day to give you that coverage. So that really sucked. But I will say this though, like the community aspect of it is incredible. You get to meet all these people you've been talking to on podcasts, and they're just genuinely really nice. It was really nice to get on with people I didn't even expect to get on with. Xbox here. But yeah, I know I got on with everyone. Got to meet, Boxerbergo Dutch and Erwin, and I got to meet Jess Corden. And,
except for Jez. Nobody likes Jez. Jez is complete asshole.
Jez, you piece of
okay.
Aaron Greenberg, he recognized me. I was fucking shocked about that. He's like, Gaz. I'm like,
of course they recognize you. How would he not recognize you, Gaz?
I don't know.
Your face is plastered all over Twitter. Aaron is all over Twitter. He sees the stuff that goes down on Twitter, all the console war stuff. He sees
the sauce.
He knows the sauce. Exactly.
I was just so surprised.
And I thought that was a funny video that you did where you threw the pony hat on the ground and you were kind of like, saying something about him. And Aaron at the end was like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. Like, you could tell he was legit.
Actually, he did want to be part. I said to hey, Aaron, he was really nice to me. And
it looked like at the end, he was like, no, I can't do this.
No, I have nothing to do with this. This is what he was trying to say. And I cut it off just before he did. But I did say to him, Aaron, if I get my friend to wear this pony mask, can you just like punch him? Like just pretend to punch him. He's like, he wanted to do it, but he's like, I'm gonna get in trouble, guys. And then I did that without telling him anyway, just to piss him off. But I mean, he was such a good sport about it, and he wanted to get drinks after. Really, it was a really good event, man. And, you see these events from a distance, you're like, oh, they're all sucking off each other. It's going to be like just a massive human centipede. But it's not. It's actually a really nice event. People get to chill, get food, eat together, and just get lit. I got lit. But yeah, no, it was a really good event. It really was. And it just made me desperately want to meet you guys, man. Like in the States, like overly understood the value of those things, man. So when we touch tips, it will be glorious.
Jeez.
I saw lots of pictures from PAX West also this past weekend, which was pretty cool. With Colt was there, and some other people were there too, taking pictures. The Lords were there. I got to go to something, man. I haven't been. I know, dude.
Yet. I'm so jealous. Not because I'm more so jealous that people are getting to meet some of my friends who I consider to be friends. Like, I want to meet them in real life as well, because we've been talking for years and years over this YouTube and Xbox and, I would say PlayStation, but those guys don't talk. They keep to themselves, on their PlayStation systems. But yeah, I just, it's crazy that the amount of people I see meet each other, meet up at all these events, and they're just having such a great time. Even people that don't get in come and meet people for lunch or whatever, I see that going on sometimes too. And it's like, wow, like I love the camaraderie of the community. I really do. Yeah, definitely. It's really cool. It's really cool. So yeah, one day we will meet, guys, for sure. We have to. Let's get into my first topic here, which is actually going to be about PlayStation Plus price hikes. They're coming this week, I believe. And apparently they're going to go up by $40 more annually in the premium service anyway. Gaz, what makes the premium service worth that extra $40 a year?
Just PlayStation tax. That's what it is. You get to have the benefit of playing on the beloved platform that you should really prostrate to every morning before you turn it on. So you should just be lucky. You should be lucky. If they would charge you 3 times the price, you better damn pay it, because they are the market leader. Really, there is no carrot. There's all stick. That's it. This is a clear example of a market leader just doing what a market leader does when it feels overly comfortable. It had no justification for its price cost. It just went ahead and this is a significant price increase of like $40.
Yes.
In some instances. That's taking the piss. Do you remember when Xbox Gold tried to increase the price? The noise was so much, the blowback was so bad that within 24 hours they reversed it.
So I see now to be fair, I see some people in the community, even on the PlayStation side, that are complaining about this. But I don't see the giant uproar when we saw the Xbox.
They did it for appearance purposes, man. Like, they had to, because, they knew that if they stayed quiet about it, there would be a bad look. But ultimately, will their bite match their bark? And I'm not seeing it. There was the uproar was there for almost like a silence. I just went there in a black hole. Now it's gone. I don't hear anything. Whereas with Xbox, guys, there would be a sustained period of whinging until someone took notice. There's a big difference because there's a bit of sincerity in that. It's your money there. You're not getting anything. You just literally increase the price and then start shelling out advertising this shitty little handheld device, and everyone's fine with it. And the fact they're making fun of Starfield, they've just swallowed it, taken it up the backside, and now they're looking at console war against Starfield. It's like, all right, PlayStation Nation, great.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's not just the Xbox guys that went on about the Xbox price hike, but it was also the PlayStation guys that were going on and on about it, and they're not going on and on about it for their own situation either. And right now, quite frankly, even though I've seen Xbox guys talk about this, and we're talking about it right now, raising awareness and stuff, that this is not cool. This is a lot of money you're charging extra for essentially nothing new. If I put this tweet out the same day that came out, but I said, and I added PlayStation. I said, if you were to put your first party games day and date, I'd be there. I'll pay the extra $40.
Oh, so you can play one game this year, Fonz?
Well, see, not this. Yeah, it's really bad sometimes, right? But give me a couple of their PlayStation exclusives. Give me some of the third party, and I would sign up. Okay, because I like the subscription services. Yes, I like to rent my games. I guess people sue me. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care what you think. But looking at this, the new PlayStation Plus prices are as follows. So it's $79.99 now for 12 months is essential, basically just to get online, right? I mean, it was the $60
cloud saves
plan. Dude,
charging you $80 for cloud saves.
Freaking $80 for cloud saves. Jesus.
What a piss take. What a piss take.
That's $20 more there than it used to cost.
How are you doing that magic? Look at Fonz, people. Look at that. That's
premium cloud saves.
I don't get this. Now, so it's $134.99 for a 12-month extra plan. So you get a little bit of those games you get in their subscription service, I guess. But that's up from $99. You're paying $34 more now. Like, what is going on? $35 more. That's insane. And then $159.99 for a 12-month premium plan like that. I cannot, man. Mav, what do you say about those price hikes? What do you think justifies that?
I don't think the service should even be justified to exist. If I be honest with you, I mean, there's no value there. Like,
occasionally they do get some multi-plat deals. Like, hey guys, guess what? You get to play Saints Row. Saints Row. Come play a shitty game this month only.
If you make comparisons to the competitor service, which is Game Pass, right? You get tons of games day one, third party, and this year also there's probably like 8 or 9 first party games that have already launched this year in Game Pass day one as well. If you combine that with all the third party stuff day one, now what does PlayStation get? They get an occasional third party day one game, like a smaller game. But for the most part, they get older games. It would be like Game Pass Core Plus, kind of, in a way, is kind of what it feels like for PlayStation Plus. And it's just, it's such a crappy value that you get. If you have stayed away from the PlayStation brand for a long time and you say, I want to catch up on the catalog, I could justify getting extra for a little while, right? Just to play some of those older titles. But it's not even just that their first party games aren't day one. It's that they're not day 90. They're not day 120. Yeah, I mean, what day are they? I don't think Gran Turismo's even hit in there yet. When did that come out? Like 6 months ago? Or longer? Last year,
No,
right?
It came out last year. Early last year, didn't it?
Yes, last year. Gran Turismo's still not even in the service, I don't think. Like, how can you justify the value of your first party gaming subscription service if your games aren't even a part of it, even like almost a year after they've been released? And meanwhile, now it's like more expensive than the competitor, which has lots of first party content and lots of third party content day one. And that's not stopping anytime soon, man, because the trains just got rolling for Xbox, and this is going to continue. So 2024, are the live service games going to do it for them for the subscription service? Are those even going to be in there day one?
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions to be asked. Like, what's the point of paying for it? The only point of paying for any of their services right now is if you've trying to catch up on your back catalog and play a lot of the classics, or you absolutely are forced to pay the $80 a year because of the cloud saves and the online. That's it,
dude. And Xbox gives you that free. Well, not free, but it's they. Yeah, it is free. Cloud saves is free. You basically have all your stuff in the cloud. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to pay the Game Pass subscription for it.
It's also a poor implementation of cloud saves on PlayStation. Also, PlayStation guys don't understand this that don't have Xbox. Like, it just works on Xbox. You don't have to do anything. Yeah, like on PlayStation, if you get a new system, you got to make sure you do this and then you do that to activate all that stuff, right? But so you can get a new system and like, oh shit, where's all my cloud saves?
Yep.
Like I know I have the feature, but oh, you forgot to do this, right? But so I don't know, man. It's just a
it's funny you brought up
service.
Yeah, you brought up Gran Turismo earlier, that it's not within their service yet. It'll probably hit PC before it hits their service.
Is Destiny even in their service? Did Destiny ever hit PlayStation Plus? After they acquired them?
Good question. I'm sure it is.
Maybe.
Let me see. Is Destiny 2 in...
Well, the new content, like the new expansions of it, like Lightfall, right?
I guarantee you they probably do the same thing that Xbox does with, the gas games, the DLC and stuff you have to pay for. I'm pretty sure that's something they do. But yeah, Destiny, I'm pretty sure it is in there. Yeah. But who cares? Who gives a crap about that, right? Like, I personally, I haven't paid for PlayStation Plus in a while because there's nothing there that I really need to jump online for, except for those cloud saves. Those are like, that's got to be put to the, like, they got to give that for free. They have to, because it's just insane. But I mean, if I have to switch consoles or something, I'll take my saves manually, like I did from the PlayStation 4 to the PS5. It sucked to do, but I will do that then, rather than pay that freaking $80 a year for their cloud saves. They can F off with that. I'm not doing that. That's crazy. I don't know. But let's get into something that's a bit more enjoyable here, a bit more positive. Let's talk about all the great stuff going on with Starfield right now. So everybody that I know personally has been enjoying Starfield. Like, there's not one single person in my circle that doesn't like Starfield. So we're all enjoying it to a certain degree. Some more than others, of course. I'm absolutely loving it, though. Gaz, I know you're the one here on this panel that's played probably more than we have, for sure. I've got about 16 hours in just a couple of days now. Again, with such limited time, I've been able to squeeze in 16 hours, and it's crazy how good this game gets. And I'm not saying it didn't get good till the 16th hour. It got good for me within the first couple hours, like really good. But it's ramping up even more as I play more of the main missions, because I've been doing a lot of side stuff, which is incredible as well. I think some of the side missions, don't miss out on those. But the main missions, though, from what Colt has told me, and others have told me too, is at least play the first 6 of the main missions at first and then go run off and do stuff. I've not been able to do that yet because I've been running around. Every time I try to do a main mission, I come upon somebody else or something else that I want to check out, and I spend hours away. Ooh, look at that credit. Oh, credits. Nice.
Yeah.
Gaz, but you've had the most time in this game. How are you feeling about this game, man?
I'm still playing it. Like,
did you beat it? You beat it, right?
Yeah. I beat it. I beat it. Well, that's brilliant.
You beat it.
English there. Yeah. I beat it, and I would recommend. Just feels like it's better if you run through the story first, and then you can carry on just without offering spoilers. Just feels like that's the best way to do it. And the way things turn out, I'm still hooked on this game, and I'm just doing. I finally managed to spent all day doing this review. I could have just read it. I did a written review.
I saw the written, yeah.
Yeah. Did you read it?
Yeah. I thought that you were very fair. I know that there's certain aspects of the game that took you out of that at points, at times. But ultimately, you love the game. Yeah.
This is the first Bethesda RPG I've completed. And
really?
I have not. Yeah. Wow. It's the first. The problem with Bethesda's RPGs are, one, I'm not into the high fantasy stuff that much. Like with World of Warcraft, I was a little bit, because it's very different. It's not that very unique spin on high fantasy. I don't like orcs and magic and Yeah,
I
the
do.
spells.
I like the high fantasy stuff.
You like that stuff? See,
Yeah.
I'm not into that. A lot of people do. I'm more into space stuff, and I mean, it's space, like, Blade Runner is my favorite movie. Interstellar is really incredible.
Oh yes.
So I was hyped for this, man.
Same.
It's like madly, like me and you were very on the same page on this one. And for the most part, though, I will say, like, in the background when we did get the review copies, everyone was like talking in the background that were playing it, and it was a bit of a weird one. It was just like the loading and the traversal was a bit, but the stories were just going crazy. Like, Colt didn't have a good experience at the start because he was just doing like the base building stuff and all that stuff, which is weird to me. That doesn't even appeal to me. I've barely done that. I've barely done the base building or the ship building.
That
Colt
appeals to
that
me,
stuff.
but I'm not going to do it right away. I usually start that like maybe towards the end game. Like, right now, I love exploration. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Same here. I'm a big fan of exploration, and I kind of wanted to do that more naturally and dive into it. The things that really astounded me, and this is what I don't seem to agree with. Well, I don't agree with a lot of people on are the visuals of it. Now, obviously, the game didn't hit the high Metacritic score that Xbox guys, including me, were hoping it would. We were thinking 90 plus. Some people in the chat were going crazy, 95, and I was like,
the whole 96, I was cringing. I was like, don't do that. Like, I said 90 being kind of conservative, but still on a high because, well, we'll get into the aspects, but go ahead, like, finish your...
Yeah. No, honestly, I think it did need to hit that, and I think the Metacritic score where it's at right now is absolutely fine, absolutely where I would hit it, because before... when people asking, well, internally or the reviews, what are you going to score it? It would be very similar to what it's got now. The game's visuals are stunning to me. The global illumination is beautiful. At times, it's inconsistent. Absolutely, the NPCs are worse for wear, but it didn't bother me. It really didn't bother me because I appreciate the sheer volume of NPCs because that sells the idea of a city there.
By the way, can I show gameplay? We're allowed right now, right?
Yeah.
I'll show some beginning gameplay, and I cut out all the stuff that, like, the dialogue and stuff, so I don't spoil anything.
The visuals, like, were incredible. Digital Foundry did their take, and I completely agree with them. Obviously, it's visuals, and they were waxing lyrical about the global illumination and the lighting. And the lighting is so transformative to me that's the reason why this game is not 60, it's 30. Now, obviously, 60 would have helped, but if that's the compromise that was needed on series consoles, then I'm so glad they took it, because unlike Redfall, you will forget that it's 30 after a while. I'm not saying that it's ideal. I'm not trying to excuse it, but I'm saying if you gave me an option where it said, well, we'll give you an optional mode, but you won't have volumetric lighting because the game has to be built around that, I would say, no way, do not get rid of it. Look at the gameplay that you're showing right now. The whole reason everything is popping in this ship right now that is the lighting coming from that table, reflecting on that light. It adds so much depth to where you are that you're sold into the immersion of this game. The lights bouncing off the screens into those chairs when someone's sitting on there, your crew members. It looks beautiful, like the way the lights bouncing off their faces. And even the outside
that's something that we notice, like those little things. We catch on to that, right? And I think a lot of people kind of overlook that stuff. There's a lot of gamers out there who don't give a shit. They're like, just get me to the next mission, or I want to shoot stuff, and they really don't take in all that detail.
They may not consciously do that, but subconsciously they'll absorb all the visual fidelity of it all. And
if you were to take it away, they'd notice, probably.
Exactly.
They'd
and
notice.
Then that's that way you can't. This is one of the best looking games I've played this gen. Like, in terms of lighting, yes, it's inconsistent. Yes, the NPCs look weird. Yes, some planets don't look good, or the textures, but generally,
some NPCs look really good. There are those that look really good. Yeah,
I think that also depends. I noticed one of the biggest differences between the PC version and the Series X and S version is some of the NPCs. There's something a little different with the NPCs on the texture quality and the detail on the faces between like on a high end PC versus consoles. But that's kind of to be expected. They're doing a lot of like on Series X, and they're doing a lot of like resolution, like kind of things getting clearer as you get close to it, right? A lot of dynamic things there that you notice. I will say that with the trade-off though, because I played on both so far, and the Series X 30 frames is the best 30 frames experience I've had in a game like this. Like, it is a really smooth 30. Going from PC at first, it's a little jarring.
I'm sorry,
at first,
I always laugh when people say a really smooth 30.
I know it sounds weird.
No, I know what you mean though.
I am like, I hate 30 frames, right? I've been like very adamant about that, like numerous times. That's why I bought this PC to play Starfield, right? I bought for me, it was well worth it, right? But trying it on the Xbox Series X as well, once you get past the first like minute or two in it, that kind of melts away. It is a really good implementation of 30. And there's a lot of other games I've played that are not, you know.
Oh, like there's some 30 frames games out there where when I do spin the camera, it looks way worse.
Like, Jedi Survivor, everybody was saying play that in quality mode. That's
worse in quality mode than this game.
Like no,
can't do it. That's
right?
way worse.
It is.
But like the Starfield, it's like, man, it's quality through and through. You can kind of tell why they made the decision that they did to do the 30 with it, as much stuff as there is in this game, with the amount of lighting and content there is. So, but I gotta say, if you got a PC or like it really freaking shines on a high end PC, man. It's like it is kind of a night and day difference.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine. I mean, I'm on the Series X playing the game, and I think the visuals are really good. And if we're going to talk about Bethesda, for a Bethesda game, they are freaking amazing compared to their previous works. And I know they haven't put out a game in quite some time, especially a big single player RPG, but man, I think the animations and everything are way better here. Way better than we've ever seen before in a Bethesda game. The gunplay is something that I think is really good. Now, when I first started, and you might notice in this, I was like terrible at my shots and stuff. And that was because I had to adjust the sensitivity a bit. For me, it didn't feel right with the way it was set up. So I had to change that. Once I changed that, I got a bit better, but I didn't change that until like hour 2 or 3 because it didn't even dawn on me. I just kept playing because I was so involved in the stories, the narrative. And here you're going to see something. The one and only bug that happened to me right here. I shot this guy, he dies, but he's still standing there. And it looks like he's alive. He's still moving. He's standing and he doesn't do anything, and I can loot him and walk away. And I even go back to him and I shoot him again. I'm like, nothing happens. That is the only bug I've come across in 16 hours.
Really? Okay.
I've come
across like tiny ones. Nothing game.
I came across one that broke a side quest for me. And I had to reload.
That's not good.
Yeah, it was weird. I kept trying to do this space battle over and over again, and I kept getting my ass handed to me. There was like 4. I would spawn in this area, or when I loaded in, there was like 4 ships right in front of me, and they're just blasting lasers right away. And I was like, man, I got to grab jump out of here. So I grab jumped, and I went to try and upgrade my ship because I had failed it like 10 times.
Yeah.
And when I noticed when I was on the planet, I went to New Atlantis, and when I was there to upgrade my ship, I saw these ships on the landing areas across from me with the blue mission icons on them. Like, those are the guys I'm supposed to be taking out over at the other system, right?
Yeah.
And then they take off, right? So then I leave, and then there's this battle in orbit of Jemison, which is the New Atlantis planet, and we take them out. But there was 2 groups, right? Because there's another group I'm supposed to take out too. So they weren't where they were supposed to be anymore on their system that I was supposed to travel to. and I couldn't travel to the system with the mission objective. If I went there manually or whatever, they weren't there. So I went back to New Atlantis again. There was a second group there. All of a sudden landing on New Atlantis again. So I'm like, what are you guys doing here? I'm supposed to be fighting you over at this other system. So then they took off. So I was like, okay, I guess I can take off again and go after them. But I took off and they weren't there. So I landed again and they were there again. So then I watched, and then they went and took off into space. And then I just waited a little while. Then they came back and landed again. And they were like in a loop of coming and landing and taking off on New Atlantis. But it was interesting. I just reloaded it. It cost me about an hour or so, but it was kind of fun figuring out what the heck's going on while that was all taking place at the same time. It didn't really bother me, but that's the only one I've come across.
By the way, this lock picking thing that they do in the game, I happen to actually like this. I like what they've done here, because it makes you think ahead with all the different steps here. Okay, so if I did this, is it going to affect the next step? Is it going to affect the next step? And it gets difficult at times, but I think it's a cool little mechanic for.
So the way I do the picks, Fonz, is I'll go through and I'll line them all up ahead of time just to make sure I'm right, and I focus on the inside circle first, because that's one that's harder to make sure you figure out. So if you line up the inside circle first, and then you can just use your bumpers to move over to the other circles and then line them up. And then once you know you got everything good to go, then you just.
Oh, you got the same thing. Yeah, I was going to say, you also unlock I think, ability that later on tells you the colors of whether or not, if it's blue, then it highlights which block you're picking corresponding, if it's the inside one or the outside one, whichever they could slot in either one. I don't know how you get that. It's just in this talent tree. So just a bit of advice. If you want to do lock picking, upgrade it so that then later on it tells you whichever those those keys are. It'll tell you if it's suitable for the inside one or the outside one. And later on, you'll come across 3 layers and 4 layers. It gets a bit complicated. It gets a bit.
I advise putting a skill in that early on, because you will come across some of the earlier missions, some advanced doors that you need to have to even have the ability to attempt to unlock. Right. So.
Definitely.
I haven't.
I feel like it needs a time limit mechanic to add a little bit of sense of urgency.
No,
and drama.
Don't add that, please, Gaz. It'll add stress to my life, and I don't want
that. Do it.
No.
Because sometimes, like, there was one where a ship had landed of enemies, and I'd snuck at the back. Sometimes in the procedurally generated world, you'll have a ship just land across. It looks really cool. Like on the horizon, you can just go there. And then you go inside, and sometimes to access it, you need a digipick to open it. And it would be nice if because you could do it for infinity and just take your time. But it'd be nice if someone's coming in and you could hit like, all right, what the frick are you doing there? Oh, shit. But there's none of that. The game pauses and you have as much time as you want. I just think that those kind of things. We'll talk about what the game doesn't do right in the bit, I'm sure.
Yeah. We're going to get into that for sure. You know what? Here, one of the aspects I want to talk about that I think is really cool, though, is different planets having different gravity, like pulls. I noticed, like, on some planets, when you boost jump, you go really high, and on other planets, you don't go so high. And then, like on Earth, you don't jump very, very high at all. It's a normal jump. It's really freaking cool that they did that they added that. I also like the fact that when you get to planets and you might have a couple of points of interest, and let's say you get to a little base, like, this little base where I'm here now, it doesn't look very big, but damn, does it go forever underground. You will have so many different routes to go. You'll have so many different things to loot, and like, that kind of stuff. I love that about Bethesda games. Like, for me, it doesn't just remind me of a Bethesda game, though. It also reminds me of a BioWare game. It reminds me of Mass Effect in a lot of ways.
It does have Mass Effect vibes as well. Like, am I doing the same kind of thing? We're trying to resolve this mystery. Obviously, with them, there's the Reapers, and you're like going with a crew and trying to figure it out. Here, you populate a crew as well and manually, and then you try and unlock the discovery.
Well, also in the fact that, and we'll get into that now, I guess, is a lot of people talking badly about the way you don't really have space exploration per se. when you're in your ship, you could fly as much as you want in your ship, but you'll be going nowhere. You'll be going nowhere. But that reminds me a bit of Mass Effect as well, because with Mass Effect, do you remember, you went to a menu system, you jumped to different star systems and stuff, and then you had that like that little ship that you would control to move it from one planet to another, but you just basically moved it over, and you're looking at it from afar. You don't really get in your ship and fly around. It kind of reminds me of that in a way, except you're not moving things like that. It's mostly done in the menu system. You just jump here, go there. And yes, you can fly around the planet that you're at, but you're really not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get close to the planet to be able to land. You'll have to do that within the menu system. So a lot of people are complaining about that. But the more I thought about it, here's the thing. The more I think about that, how I think for myself, if I actually had to fly to every planet like that, I might get bored of doing that. I might get bored of just...
I disagree with that, only because it's up to the developers to make that intriguing enough.
True. Like add some element of, okay, because for instance, there's a trait that I chose at the very beginning of the game. I chose the wanted trait. So what happens here is when I'm flying around, even aimlessly, and just going nowhere, all of a sudden bounty hunters come after me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I have a lot of ship battles that I have to deal with, or I can pay them off to leave me alone, but that gets costly. And, but yeah, I've gotten my ass handed to me by bounty hunters. So things like that, they could implement more of, right? More space battles, because I've heard that if you don't have like the wanted trait, you don't get into very many space battles.
Very few.
Yeah.
I don't get too many. I feel like I should have. I wish I did that. I had the benefit of hindsight and did that wanted perk. I don't even know which one I went with at the end. I think that missing there are a few things there that are almost criminal that they didn't put it in there. That had they put that in Starfield, it would easily become game of the gen contender. Like easily, it would become a very potent RPG, obviously depending on execution. So a few things, and I mentioned this in my video review that I'm doing, like the space travel. Like you spend all this time building your ship, yet you're spending all of it the time on the menus doing it. Like it completely makes it redundant.
You're mostly on the ground, right? You're mostly on the ground. That's where all the action happens. You don't really have to fly much at all.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You have a crew, and they're sitting inside this ship, these beautifully modeled ships. They've done so much work with it, yet you can't really take advantage of it. The whole appeal of space, why games like Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous exist, and I'm not saying they should copy them completely, is the fact that a big part of the appeal of space is going, exploring space and the dangers of space. What you're looking at is basically a glorified menu, even when you are floating outside these planets. That's basically a menu. The illusion isn't even that good because you immediately know you can't get closer to the planet. All it is a big flat like PNG file of this planet, few floating rocks and a few ships. And it's so criminal that you didn't gamify so many elements of it. Things like docking. Docking is such a key sci-fi trope that you find in so many science fiction movies, from Interstellar, everything like 2001 Space Odyssey. And in that game, you just press A. And it's annoying. It's annoying for me that they fell apart with that. I feel like they maybe had to necessitate.
You wanted them to expand on the docking instead of just like
manual docking. Manual docking, like you can gamify that, make it like like your digipix is round, picking the same thing. Like there should be some tension there.
That's
the fear of space is
okay. So let me pause you right there on that situation, because the docking situation I feel is a little, for me it's a letdown as well too, because for one of the reasons why I feel like they kind of skimped out there have you noticed when you fly up to any kind of wreckage to dock with or ship or whatever you're trying to dock with, the hit detection is really off, and you'll just like bang into the ship even though you don't feel like you're near the ship at all or near the wreckage or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And you'll just bang into it. I'm like, what? I'm not even touching it. It's sloppy. That part is very sloppy.
It is. I mean, people may not think that's a big deal, but the cumulative, like that docking, that atmospheric entry, and I know this has been discussed ad nauseum because of No Man's Sky comparisons, but everything is just like boom, black screen loading, black screen loading, black screen loading, and some of the loading in between levels, sometimes the door will open and it won't load. You're like, oh. That's a pleasant surprise. I was expecting to be met with a black screen and a loading icon, and some internal bits won't.
There's loading in when you go to New Atlantis and go in one. Like most of the shops are just open, and then there's a couple of shops you go into and it loads, and it's a small shop. It's tiny. It's like, why are we loading into this?
That's the problem with the design of the game. Ultimately, that. It takes you away. The whole thing is about immersion, and that is where the game falls, and that's why, in my opinion, it cannot be in the game of the gen conversation for me. But
I don't think that rules it out. I don't think it rules it out. I know you said for you.
For me,
I look at those things and I say, yeah, it's a little sloppy. It can take you out of the immersion, but thank God for SSDs. Because imagine if we didn't have the SSD in the Series X. Those loading times probably would have been horrendous.
Yeah, can you imagine with the Fallout kind of levels of
Dude,
that loading
that would have been
all the time?
Now that would have really taken me out. But honestly, you mentioned outside of that, other than the space or the non-existent really space exploration, it's got to be maybe the AI sometimes is a little wonky.
AI.
For me, when I say this, I'm not saying it happens all the time, because sometimes I get into firefights with some of the teams, enemies, and they actually like fight me pretty well, and I'm like, holy crap, these guys are getting the best of me. Then other times it's like they'll just be standing there and they don't even see me, and I just knock them out or whatever. But I do think those things are my only really gripes in the game.
Yeah, like the combat AI is a big one. Someone in chat says this is nitpicking. Well, it's not, because the vast majority of reviewers have literally docked points on these points. Loading and the breaking of immersion is a big point. But the AI is one thing. I just feel like there'll be a little bit more dynamism as well in some of the way in which when you navigate. It's because it's a glorified loading screen. They're a bit limited. But it would have been nice to have. Well, I'm still encountering some new instances on planets, but it's either dock planet, investigate an abandoned thing. But I want to see a little bit more missions. Like, I came across. I'm hearing stories from a lot of people now, like they've come across this element and that element. So there's a lot of content here. But the core game. This is the most refined Starfield game, Bethesda game ever.
It's the most polished for sure. Yeah,
the combat is ridiculously good. You can tell where its software came in. The gunplay is really good. All the guns sound distinctive. It puts to shame so many other games that have like first person combat, because gunplay sounds good. The music in this game, my God, I love the music in this game.
Yeah,
the music in this game is like if it's legal to take drugs wherever you are, have an edible, play this game and get lost in a planet. It's amazing.
Mav, how do you feel about the whole ambience of the game, the music and everything? Man,
it's incredible. It's just constantly. I feel immersed. I don't know if anybody else does or whatever, but I feel constantly immersed in this world, and it's like
me too.
I feel like a lot of times, and I just got to say, with a lot of the reviews that I've seen and a lot of the discussion that's been about Starfield, it's been so much discussion about what the game doesn't have or the game doesn't do because of preconceived conceptions or notions about what type of game this was going to be, set by people that were comparing it to No Man's Sky the second this game was found out to be a space game. that you're going to be exploring space and be able to walk on planets and stuff, right? So there's all these aspects of it. The fact that it's in space, all of a sudden it's getting compared to Star Citizen, it's getting compared to No Man's Sky, it's getting compared to these games that it's not trying to be those games. This is trying to be a Bethesda RPG set in space.
Good point.
Right? And it taking and doing all those other things that people are asking them to do requires time and resources. So what's the trade-off? What do we take away from everything else the game does do to make those other things happen that at the end of the day will probably become boring and redundant after we do it once or twice? Yeah. So for me, I'm looking at this as like a Bethesda RPG. I like the comparison more to Mass Effect because this takes a lot of cores of another space RPG that did a lot of things, but expands upon it 10 times and allows you to do a million other things that you couldn't do in Mass Effect, right?
I think we need to go back and look at Bethesda themselves when they've talked about this game and they've talked about exploration and see whether or not they emphasize planetary exploration as opposed to space exploration.
They did. They talked about space. In the Starfield Direct, they talked about space combat. They talked about going to planets. They showed literally in the Starfield Direct how it works. Like they actually had a full length loop on exactly how the system works. But for some reason, some people like always were stuck on the fact of like, I want to be able to fly everywhere. Now, if you put into the sense of scale and scope of this game, that is kind of unrealistic and a waste of time. It would take.
That's what I was kind of alluding to earlier.
Planet,
like
right?
I would get bored of
it.
That.
Doesn't excuse the sheer abundance of loading screens internally within
loading
world.
Screens take like 2 seconds. Like it is so fast to be able to. It's fast traveling.
Not You're always like 8 seconds. You've got some other ones, and it's the volume of them. It's the volume.
If you want to spend 8 hours on a planet exploring mines and stuff, you can do so without any loading screens. The rest of it is fast traveling. Like, would it be cool to just be able to fly from planet to planet? Yeah, yes, it would. But this is also more of like
it's not even about that. It's about the manner in which you do land onto a planet. The half
you do it twice. After that, you're going to be fast traveling to every single planet you can because after a while it just becomes redundant and boring.
It breaks the cogency of that illusion. If that's what you like, that's absolutely fine. But there's a reason why the reviews settled where they did.
I guess it's what we've come to expect from an RPG from Bethesda. I guess. Like I wasn't.
This is a Bethesda game. This is not No Man's Sky. This is not Star Citizen.
No one's asking for it to be No Man's Sky, but
a lot of the. But you have to admit, Gaz, even for yourself, you make a lot of comparisons to those games.
Why aren't we talking about all the things the game does have? You can grab a million different objects and like hoard your stuff on your ship. You can go and do tons of different side quests that'll take you on branching paths that have amazing stories and dialogue and all this stuff. But yet, because you have to fast travel occasionally, or the inventory system needs work, it's a 7 or a 6, 3 out of 5. When a lot of these same people are saying it's the most fun and amazing experience they've ever had in a space game. I don't think
there's a lot of hyperbole there because if you tackle space, and then you say, "Well, no, we just want a Bethesda RPG." Well, this is their tagline was 20 years in the making. What did they spend 20 years on? They waited for the technology to come to a stage where they would want to realize that vision, and you get loading screens. They oversell. This is a typical case of Todd Howard really overselling it. But I'm not saying he didn't achieve what he did. He did in the most part. But the reviewers are absolutely right, in my opinion, in docking points for that. Now everyone's crying about a 7, like this. I mean,
I look. Let's look. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what Metascores are showing, honestly, because at the end of the day, I stress this so many times. The past 6 years I've been on YouTube, I've been telling people. Actually, I've been on YouTube like 8 years, but the past 6 years I've been telling people on RDX that Metascores don't mean crap to me because at the end of the day, some of those 0 out of 5 scores, they don't lend well to the 100-point scoring system. Like if you put a 3 out of 5 and then try to input that into a 100-point scoring system, it's like a 60. It doesn't make sense. It makes 0 sense.
Yeah,
3 out of 5 is a great game.
I put this in perspective, right? I did this side quest, and then I went and stumbled, and I did some other stuff on this planet. I got lost. I spent 6 hours there. I was like, wow, that was so much fun and amazing stuff. And like, there's so much stuff to find and explore, and cool stuff here, and like lore and all these different things. And then I took a step back, and it's like none of this I had to do. And there's 1,000 potential other places I could have the same experience. Like, that is insane to me. And yet, for some reason, when people look at games, like every single game, there's a million different things you cannot do. Why do people always focus on the things you can't do on big, ambitious games like this, instead of giving it the credit for the a million things it does that other games can't do?
No one is doing that. We are giving it its
the game
flowers
for what it is, not what it's not trying to be. Like, I don't understand the thought process there.
Well, it is like what I was alluding.
I don't understand the thought process of giving it its flower. No one. I've given it my review. I said it's their best RPG. But you talk about the most ambitious game, but then you're trying to remove the ambition out of it, and it's just like, it seems like we're impervious to any real critique for this game.
That's why I mentioned Mav. That's why I mentioned earlier. That's why I mentioned earlier. It's the verbiage used by Bethesda. Because lots of times you would hear Bethesda say, this is, explore the stars, explore the space exploration, and they really emphasize that. And there really isn't space exploration. There is planetary exploration. But I don't think they really nailed that home in their, the verbiage and everything and what they were trying to put out there for the game. As far as the loading screens go, I hear your point, guys. I understand that there's loading screens and, it can be immersion breaking. For me, it hasn't been the case yet because, again, they're so quick. If they were long, I would definitely be there with you. I'd be like, come on. But there are a lot of loading screens. I'm not going to negate that. I'm not going to say that's not a low point.
Also, Fonz, this controversy about landing on planets came up like 1.5 years, 2 years ago when Todd Howard told everybody that you weren't going to be able to land on the planet.
Oh yeah, no, we knew that. We knew that. But we're talking about even
now coming up.
No, we're talking about even space exploration. Like you're literally flying around aimlessly.
What you can do? You build a ship. You build your crew. They share in their sizzle reel. Your crew sitting there, walking around the ship. Everyone's there eating everything, but you can completely. That is redundant.
It's almost to the point where, look, I'll say it like this: when you're up in that ship and you're flying around in space, it's almost pointless. 90% of the time,
it's space. I'm saying that, like,
no. But you can add, like, I agree with Gaz where they could have added an element of, surprise and like ambushes and more stuff to find when you're in space. Even if we don't have to land on the planets, there could be cool stuff we can fly around and find and see. And but there's nothing.
A big part of the trope of the appeal of it. Of this
I see
game.
that.
And yes, it's a Bethesda RPG. Yes, it does the other elements well, which is a testament to why this game is sitting at an 87, 88 Metacritic, because those scores, in my opinion, are absolutely fine. It does those bits well, despite the AI, despite the NPCs looking a little bit janky. There'll be events you'll come across in the game that really, like, the core story beats are really good. Although the ending of it may highlight some of the weaknesses of the combat. It may be too easy, and some of the bits you'll say, all right, well, that wasn't really much there. But the fluidity of this game's RPG elements and how broad they are, basically how Rand completed the game and how I completed the game, very different.
That's what I've heard.
Those are the strong Bethesda RPG elements that the game does really well. I mean, look, if you guys don't, we don't have to agree. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
that's absolutely fine.
agree.
I just find the overly defensive discourse on this is a bit tiring because everyone has reviewed this for a reason. Everyone who's reviewing it, all of us, we were talking about it at the same time. Like me, Jez, Rand, Cole, all of us were actually said the same thing. Like, oh man, this, like, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It wasn't like
you can have criticisms and we can have these little critiques. I have critiques too, right? Inventory system needs work for sure. Like there's There's things that with the space,
yeah.
it would be nice if there's more of those things happen, right? But I'm still early on. I've already had lots of different missions that I've done in space with other ships, so I haven't had that same experience, even though I'm only like 14 hours in or so. But besides that, I find that the opposite true, Gaz, a little bit. It's like, for some reason, this game has reached the scale of hype and ambition that, like, this over criticism of certain aspects that a game doesn't have is over focused on, as opposed to just, if this game came out with nobody knew anything about it, and they just played it without all the comparisons that people had wrongly so about other space exploration games, right? Then all these talking points may not be here. Instead, we have other games getting 10s and 9s from some of these same reviewers that are just broken at launch. The quality and polish that they have here with this game, with the scope of it, is absolutely, like, for me, the scale starts at a 9, just what they achieved.
Let me ask you something though, Mav. Were you not expecting more in the way of space exploration? Like,
no,
more,
because I've been paying attention
really
from the get-go.
I think there's, man,
honestly,
we're boys and all, but I think there's a little bit of disingenuous, like, you're being a little bit disingenuous, because I think we all expected more. But I think we all expected more space exploration, like more flying in the ship to find things.
When you talk about certain aspects, like landing on the planets, no, I didn't expect that, because Todd
told
us
the landing, the landing was already taken care of, and we were like, some of us were bummed about that.
That's what the discussion is about. This is about the immersion of landing on a planet.
It's about flying through space and actually getting to things that are interesting, not just going to
docking
to interesting things. And
docking is something we discovered very lately. Nothing of that, but no one knew that you dock, you would be hit with a black screen.
You brought up docking as a way that
docking is exactly. Where was docking ever debunked?
It was a critique, so I'm bringing it back up. But what I'm saying is, like, these things.
What was my critique about the docking? Tell
is that they should have made a mini game out of it or whatever. Like,
and when was it debunked? When was it debunked? Like, why was it? That was just a suggestion. It was just like, I feel like it's a piece. I'm saying,
like, you're talking about it as like something that's not immersive enough, and they should have done that, right? Like,
it's a suggestion that I think that it's such a key sci-fi trope. It would have helped with the immersion of space. This is a suggestion.
But what is the point of even talking about all
the
things the game doesn't have when we're getting one of the most ambitious scope games we've ever played?
Because it's about expectation. Okay, there is such a thing as expectation. No, Mav,
based on the information that was out there.
There's Infinite all over again.
Gamers have a certain level of expectation to these games, and if 90% of the people out there, I believe probably 99% of people out there, gamers, believe that there was going to be more in the way of space exploration. If they believe that, wanted that, and it's not there, then you got to see where the discourse is coming from. You got to see why they're a little upset. I totally get that. We're not saying the game is bad in any way, shape, or form. I freaking love the game. Gaz loves the game, but we love it for what it does, but it is falling short in other areas where we expected it to be a bit better because of the verbiage used by Todd Howard, by Pete Hines.
Okay. You can disagree all you want, but all we're saying is, despite that fact, this is my written review is there. It tells it, like, you may have not read it, but I'm telling everyone, this is the best Bethesda RPG we've had ever, best playing RPG we've had ever. But it misses the game of the gen conversation.
This isn't just targeted at you, Gaz, or Fonz. Like, this is targeted at viewers that have given.
I know you're frustrated. Yeah,
as sevens and sixes.
Yeah,
keeping
you don't have to release the rage on me and Gaz, because we're with you. We love the game.
Most ridiculous reasons I have seen. Now, there's certain aspects I could agree with that need work, but like, for some of these people to like not give credit where credit is due is the frustrating part, right?
Well, if you're talking about certain people that are giving the game, 60 or 70 out of 100, that's I don't believe.
There's no way in hell.
I don't believe it's a 7 out of 10 game myself, but it's my opinion.
I don't agree with it.
Yeah, it's my opinion.
There's no way this game is 7. What is that?
It's opinions.
There's a universal review score. You have to understand that, Mav. When you say there is no way this game is 7, it's for you, right? You have to add that. For me, there is no way this game is a 7. There's no objective 7.
There is no way in the world this game is a 7. Like the scope and ambition and quality they put out alone.
That's how I feel too. But again, like that's his opinion, and like that's why I'm not going after whoever said that. Like I don't care what he has to say, because to me the game right now as it stands at 16 hours in, I'm hovering like 8.59. Like I don't know how it's going to end, but it's intriguing as hell to me. The narrative here is so good. I like the companions and stuff, even though this cowboy guy gets in the way a lot. Like every time I see him with the cowboy hat and space and everything, I just laugh because it's so like ridiculous. But
no, I mean, I'm putting my frustrations out on you guys because you're saying some of the same things that I've seen from those scores, and I know you didn't rate it like that, right? But it's like.
So no, that conversation,
yeah,
but because it's the conversation, all this talk is about what the game doesn't have. Well, we're all playing this game and having so
but isn't that how we review games? No, but that's our game review. We review games that way.
Expectations for the game. You may not have games. At least
we review games for what the game is, and that's how the game is.
Okay,
so you take a game and you present it. This is our game on a plate. Review it for what it is. Oh, I see it doesn't have this, and this, but it's the most amazing thing I've ever played. 7. That's not how it should work.
I don't know who's doing that. I don't know who's doing
that. Greg Miller gave it a 3 out of 5, and he's out there like ranting and raving about how amazing this game is. I'm just saying, like the conversation is so weird.
There's a lot of weird people out there.
It's a disservice to Bethesda. It's a disservice to the consumers and people that actually want to know about this game when there's so much focus on the wrong thing.
Hey, let me get to some super chats real quick. Lord Roughness, thank you very much for the £5 here. He says, hi, Fonz, Mav, and Gaz. I think Starfield's fast travel is understandable. Can you imagine not much fast travel in such a massive RPG? But I could also, I agree, but I could also agree where I would like to find some cool stuff in space while I'm out there. Like, that's not like, there is certain situations they put you in space, but it's like predetermined. Like
the game is a bit schizophrenic in some of the things it does. One of the things that Starfield does incredibly, that and Bethesda's RPGs do, that other games don't do, is this persistence in the world. You saw Digital Foundry. This astounded me. They didn't need to do this. You guys are saying, oh, they don't need to do that fast travel. Make it. Why do you need docking and all of this? Why do you need in this game to be able to put bottles in the corner of a toilet, close that stall, go visit 10 different planets, come back, and those bottles are still there? That's a redundant feature, right? Does it affect anything? Why do they bother putting that effort in there? But to me, that's an incredible feature that propels Starfield and Bethesda's RPGs above. There's no PlayStation game that does that. And to me, do you know what? Some of the PlayStation guys were coming after me like, who cares about that feature? I was like, well, that is a believable world to me.
And that's a main staple of the Bethesda RPG. That's like
so cool to go back to a base and you see a body there. I don't see that in any PlayStation game, but that's a redundant feature. But if gamifying an element instead of watching a little mini cutscene, which we make fun of PlayStation guys for relegating QTEs, Spider-Man, hit triangle, boom. That's essentially a mini version of that. It's such a
So this is like a mini version of a long, drawn-out 20-minute cutscene, like if just when you're fast traveling, landing on a planet, like.
My suggestion, my review was
it's fast traveling, bro. Like other RPGs.
It's not even fast traveling. It's the way you enter into a planet. If you made the loading a little bit longer and just had the illusion of your entry in space, I'm telling you, all of the cumulative effects of that would have, in my opinion, justifiably increased the score.
Okay, so the time that they took to make this game and everything that's in it, what's the trade-off to be able to implement that? Because they would have had to put
I don't have the insight into it. They said that it's 20 years in the making. I don't know.
We know
well, here's the
thing. Development started in like 2018. Right? So there's resources. They built the game they could with the resources and time they had to make it. If you're asking for another feature implementation or whatever, there's got to be a trade-off there.
Let me just say this.
I can't just pluck out and get rid of X to get rid of this.
Jedi Survivor, you can't fly to different. It's set in space,
okay,
right? Like,
okay, but that's not what was sold to everybody.
What I mean that's my point, though.
Is like comparing it to
it's a space game, right? It's a space game.
Okay, Mav, you say you have to base. You say that you'd rather have reviews base the game on what it does do and not what it doesn't do.
What the game is.
Yeah. However, though, but what that game is, or what was perceived to be by many people out there, by the majority, was more space exploration and planetary exploration.
People were wrongly comparing it to No Man's Sky and Star Citizen and games like that from the get-go, which why a lot of us were like, this is not No Man's Sky.
But even that, if you just review it based on what the game does, I'll tell you this: it doesn't do space exploration very well, and it does. It tries. And that's it's just not very good.
That's one component to the game.
Yeah, and look, and it's not a
component. The hailing, the space combat, all happens in a fake skybox that has no depth to it. There's a reason why Alana Pierce is trying to go in. There's a reason why Elite Dangerous, even though that's just based on that feature alone, they didn't even sell the scale. There's no danger in space other than combat. To me, is a big misstep. Whatever trade-offs they needed to make,
I don't understand what kind of game
I would have personally preferred that
on it to live on the ship.
I feel like we're like losing sight of
it's this
the game being really, really good, and if you listen to this back, you're gonna think, or this part of it, you're gonna think that we're just arguing over this game, and that Gaz hates it. And I'm indifferent to it, and you do nothing but love it, Mav. But
it's my favorite. We all love it. Up my all-time list. It is maybe going to be my favorite game of all time. And I feel like when I'm exploring,
and that's fair. That's fair.
I'm
that's your
exploring
opinion.
what exists in space, which is planets. I'm exploring planets.
Yeah. No, I'm good with that. And here's the thing. That's why I disagreed with Gaz and said that because Gaz says, in his opinion, anyway, it can't be a generational game because of the shortcomings for him. For me, I kind of disagree, because I'll tell you this right now. For this generation so far, this is my favorite game I've played yet. I have not played anything on the PlayStation or the Xbox that has come close to me really enjoying this. Like
I will say,
not yet. I can't say definitively because I haven't beaten it.
I wanted it to be that. But when I was completing, and those bits for me personally, and this is the point, it gets out of the conversation because I see like systematically some games doing it. But I will say this game, like so far, if you ask me, Gaz, what is the game of the gen? Other than Tears of the Kingdom, which was basically built on the template of the old Breath of the Wild, which is a weak proponent to put forward. But I can't think of any other game yet, apart from maybe say Elden Ring had that.
Did you say Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm not saying that. I said no. But like that's the closest thing. Nothing is this game. Like Starfield is better than any PlayStation game I've played this gen. It's better than any Xbox game I've played this gen.
Oh,
Nintendo, that's
bro.
A different place.
I went from. Let me tell you this. I went from Final Fantasy 16 recently to this, and it's like, bro, Final Fantasy 16 compared to Starfield sucks on so many levels. Like, Gaz, you and I were talking about Final Fantasy 16 not too long, not to jump in too long, but we both don't like the combat in that game. The combat is just not very good in Final Fantasy 16.
Who's you and Mav?
No, Gaz, okay. You didn't care for the combat either.
What? No, I didn't say that.
In Final Fantasy 16, I remember you were telling me you didn't care for the combat.
In Zelda. Yeah, Final Fantasy 16's combat is freaking dry as fuck.
It's like a button masher, and
it's basic as fuck.
It's not very fun. And
the game is basically a glorified movie in my opinion.
Yeah, and the story is okay and all, but I wanted more games, so I ended up quitting that game because it's not fun. It's not fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll get back to it, especially now that I'm playing Starfield. I enjoyed the set
pieces, but it's not really a game, in my opinion.
Yeah, but Starfield is the reason why I bring it up is because there is nothing that I played, even people's great love for God of War Ragnarok doesn't touch Starfield so far.
That's my point, Fonz. Like,
yeah, I also
do you get what I'm saying though? Like,
no, I
about one of the best.
we understand what you're saying.
I've ever had, and it's like
you don't get upset about the lack of immersion that say Gaz has with certain aspects of the game, or that I may talk about and say I don't like this
Gaz
part.
Is upset. I think he's just critiquing it. My point
is, of course.
And my whole thing is just like, and this happens with other games too. This happened a long time ago. Like this has been an issue I've had with reviewers for a long time. Going back to the 360 days, like Chrome Hounds and Shadowrun were crapped on because of the lack of campaign. Right, those weren't the kind of games that they were. Right, they were multiplayer first games back then. I remember taking extreme issue with the reviews back then in those days. The same kind of aspect here, but I feel like Starfield has had so much hype and so much excitement and so much talk about it that it's
and
kind
a lot of
like
expectation,
and a lot that raises the expectations to an unfair degree, where we're judging this game on a different scale than any other game out there. To the point where now we're docking ridiculous amounts of points and things on review scores for things that necessarily other games have never done before that don't get criticized for the same things, right?
Hey, here's the thing. Maybe some people have done that, but I know Gaz hasn't. Gaz reviewed this game very fairly.
I'm not critiquing Gaz's review, right? Like he's fair. He didn't give it a 7. Right?
I know.
If I did, what difference would it make if you read the substance of the review?
It would make me see you as potentially a disingenuous individual.
That
because there's no way
fundamentally highlights your problem is complete. The problem is you do not understand review scores and the nature of them, because you've associated your understanding of what a 7 out of 10 for you means to me, and this is the problem, Mav. You're so stuck on a 7. Like you've just basically said, if it's 7, that means it's your word. Let's just break it down. You said it's disingenuous. Right? Do you know the meaning of that word and what that actually elicits?
Yeah, it means you're basically lying for your teeth, lacking of integrity, right? So if you are
7, explain to everyone why that. If I gave it a 7, why would that be disingenuous?
Because you'd be full of shit. Because you'd be
that's
full
not
of
an answer.
My God.
Your review is disingenuous, guys, because you gave it a 7 because you're full of shit.
Those reviews are
anything.
Let's not get too far here.
But let's just break that down, because so you say that, at least back up your words. It's a 7. You're disingenuous because you're full of shit.
So on that topic, Lord Roughness says, thank you very much, Lord Roughness. He says, so glad the majority of the reviews didn't copy IGN's 7 out of 10. Their score pissed me off until I noticed Metacritic was a nice 87. Great job, Bethesda. You know what? And he's with you, Mav. Lord Roughness, it upset him about this 7 out of 10.
So we all know the perceived, like as gamers, we see this, right? There's a perception of a 7, an average game. Let's just be honest.
Your perception. That's your perception.
No.
That is the perception of gamers.
I would say objectively, guys, people do now look at 7 out of 10 as a bad game.
I would give Callisto Protocol a 7, and I said it was a great game.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's your scale.
What the fuck happened there? What happened there?
Dude, I'm with you. 7 shouldn't be a bad score. 7 shouldn't be a bad score, but it's looked at that way within the community. I don't know why.
The perception is out there that a 7 is
people's perception. Think for yourself and what your scale is. This is the problem.
Guys, wait a minute. Hold up, Mav, Gaz. Hold up. Gaz, I know darn well you're not arguing this point when you've yourself have argued that if this game doesn't get at least an 88 or 89, it's a fail on certain games. Because you know the perception of games that get lower scores. If something hit a 7, Gaz, I know you would be like, man, it's trash.
No,
yes, Gaz, I've seen
you. Your review
Forspoken, how much shit have you talked about Forspoken when it's got when it got 7s, right? Like, when I agree, people should look at the game and review it for themselves and play it if they're interested. The issue is when the biggest games media out there gives a score a 7. It's not the person's review. It's the stamp from actual like IGN or GameSpot. The perceptions, people don't see it as what that is. They see it as that's what their grade is for the game, right? And that's unfairly or not, that's just the reality of what it is. So when one guy gives back in the day Duke Nukem Forever an 8, and then turns around now and gives Starfield a 7, how can you take that opinion as being genuine?
But
That is
when
not. That is
I said I
like,
would give it a 7. You read my review, and then I said I put a 7. You said it's disingenuous.
I said if you scored it a 7, then you'd be full of shit. But you didn't score it a 7, did you?
I don't put scores for this reason because people haven't got the capacity to understand.
What would you score Starfield?
Before I answer that question, I want you to I want you to tackle this point. It's so to me, it's so utterly silly to even announce that a review, which I don't know if have you read my review or yes or no?
I saw a little bit of your critique on Twitter where you said like it just misses the game of the year.
So
thing. I didn't have issues with what you said there or anything.
But it's so crazy to me that a review becomes disingenuous irrespective of my genuine feelings and my understanding of what a 7 is. You're not even prepared to have that conversation because you're already lumping the 7, my 7, as the community 7. I'm trying to compel you to understand.
I would say
I don't prescribe to the communities. No, but you said it. You said it's full of shit. But you didn't even bother to listen to my understanding of my understanding.
You haven't even scored it. We're talking about a hypothetical situation.
But I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you for a reason.
I'm talking about the people that have. Right?
Okay, guys, we could go round and round on this forever, but I want to get past this because honestly, like we of course we all disagree with certain things with the game and scoring systems and everything. Shout out to Dealer Gaming in the chat. I see you. I've got a super chat here from Parksy 1972. I'll catch the show tomorrow. I'm too busy with Starfield. I totally get it.
Sector, I'm not insulting Gaz.
Yeah, well,
me and Gaz are cool. We're having a debate.
Yeah,
here's the thing, Gaz.
Okay, Mav, we're gonna get past it. We're gonna go past this. Okay, I know you. We know you. You're cool. We don't have a problem with that. He took issue with what you had to say about the review score.
I think
there is no score. I can't critique your scores because there is none.
Okay, so Sith Lord, the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, "Hi guys, I'm glad you are enjoying Starfield. Yes, enjoying it immensely. Not that you can tell by listening to the show because there's a lot of fighting going on about it, but I'm enjoying the game a lot." God's Geeks, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, "I don't use the star map to travel or land. I use tracker and press A. It's instant." What's he talking about? Tracker, it's instant. Don't know. Do you guys know what he's talking about? He doesn't use the star map. He doesn't use the star map to travel or land.
If you're internally, you see you can fly or rotate around, and if you see the objective map, you press A and then travel.
Oh, yeah, I do the same. Yeah, I do pretty much do the same thing too. I've got Sauron Grant here. Thank you very much for the $5 pound. He says, if it was 10 minutes between planets, peeps would have bailed on the game by now. Expected a space sim, got the best Bethesda RPG ever. That's according to him. Right now, again, I have not beaten the game. But it's a very good Bethesda RPG, very good. But I totally get why some people are upset about the space exploration. It makes total sense when you're sold something or you have that expectation and it's not met. You're going to be like underwhelmed just a bit. I mean, you've got to be. I mean, it's natural. God Emperor Sofa King, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. He says, after putting 40 hours into Starfield and reading Dan Stapleton's review, the things that he went after in his review make no sense. The game is a 9.5 or 8.
Well, that's okay. Dan Stapleton couldn't even back up his own review because he joined the Spaces afterwards and he seemed to be unsure of the manner in which, you have to listen to the Spaces.
He also said his first instinct was an 8, but then he read his own review and gave it a 7.
What?
Yeah, he said the guy doesn't know how to review games. In my opinion, he doesn't know how to review games. He just doesn't know how to review games.
He gave Duke Nukem Forever an 8 back in the day on PC Gamer. That is one of the worst games of all time. He gave it an 8.
He's the opposite of Mav. Yeah. He's the same problem but different. I'm joking.
I got ABACAB72 with the super chat. Thank you very much, brother. He says the thing is 88, 87 for Xbox is bad, but it's good for PlayStation and Nintendo. A 7 would not move people to buy an Xbox for a game.
But that's you asking for. Look, this is the problem with the reason why a lot of the pressure that Mav was alluding to, which is fine. I understand that, but that if you remove it, and I even mentioned it in my video review, remove the noise in this, and you put it in a vacuum, then the scores wildly vary. What Bethesda have done is incredible. By their own standards, it's a redemption for Bethesda. This game is better playing, and you'll see it. My review is written out literally saying the same thing. If you cut away the noise, which is a reason why Microsoft fucked up, that's why this pressure is on Bethesda, because all the chips are on this this game.
Yeah. After
and
Redfall,
Xbox's failings are putting pressure on Bethesda. But in a way, you can't remove it, because that's just like idealistically looking into an alternative universe. But on its own, on its merits, as a Bethesda RPG, this is the best playing Bethesda RPG I've played, best looking Bethesda RPG I've played, best sounding Bethesda RPG I've played. It just feels great. It's predominantly bug free. Like, a lot of people just put any bugs out there, they're just going to put it out there. No one said it was going to be 100% bug free. There's no such thing.
Oh, I expected more than what I've gotten so far. I expected a lot more.
It's not, considering the game is systems upon systems upon systems, even without all the stuff that we want, it's still very polished as a result of Microsoft giving them a year. And if you remove all of that noise, it's an incredible RPG. It's an incredible Bethesda RPG. I just feel like it could have been something even that transcended that. It's just not there yet, but it's great. And that's where people need to land and stop worried about people's scores that they give. How many times, how many games?
I don't care individually about the scores. It has an impact, though, on the game and the overall perception of the game. And that's where
but it doesn't have an impact on you, Mav.
It doesn't have an impact on me.
It does. Have you seen it today?
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I get frustrated when I see the wrong things.
I know.
I
used to do the same thing about scores and stuff way back in the day. I've learned that people all have different opinions, and then I've also learned that there are indeed fanboys that work for different organizations and review games as well, and it happens on both sides. I don't care. There's certain people I do care about their reviews out there, and I will listen to them. And when they downplay a game or something, it kind of upsets me because I trust them. But at the same time, I usually agree. I mean, with these people, it's usually something that and there's very few of those reviewers out there that I even look to anymore.
Individually, those have big impact though on the overall.
I know overall look, the perception.
Right? And
I get it.
Where the problem I have is with the points that some of these reviews have taken versus the scores that they've given. It's like you read something and it's like, wow, this game sounds great. They're talking about it on social media all the time, saying how amazing the game is and talking about how much this is one of the most great experiences they've ever had. And then on a weighted score that has impact for
it's
meta,
60 out of 100. Yeah.
Right. It just doesn't add up to me. It's that's why I call that disingenuous. How can you say
that's
those
something
things
that can be frustrating. I'm sure. But guys, he was telling me that, Greg Miller gave it a 3 out of 5, which essentially equates to a 60. But he's gushing about the game over and over on social media, how great it is, how amazing it is. And that's what he's talking about. But then again, you have to look to the overall scoring system that doesn't add up right. Because I've looked at those scores and I'm like, wait, this person didn't give it a 60. And then I go look at their review and it's a 3 out of 5. And I'm like, 3 out of 5 is better than a 60, in my opinion. It should be at least a 70.
And you have other games that are broken at launch and just don't operate correctly, getting 10s across the board. That's where I have issues with reviewers, and this game has
keep thrashing the chat.
This game has taken on another level with that than I've seen. I think because the amount of hype and excitement it has had. There's not a lot of bad scores out there, but it seemed like the 7 was the safe negative for a lot of these reviewers, where they could get away with it to drop the meta, drop the aggregate because they're heavily weighted, but not get too much backlash. So I'm giving them the backlash.
Sauron Grant, thank you very much for the $2. He says, don't look at the score, read the review. Yeah, that's a good point. Mad Zumo thank you for the 10. He says, a 7 out of 10 is 70%, 1 point away from a fail. For Americans, barely a pass. That is why saying a game is great and give it a 7 is disingenuous or just plain ignorant. What say you, Gaz, about that?
That's not the case in the UK. 70% is 69% you think is a fail. That's not the case. 49 is a fail. 50% is a pass.
Yeah, 69 is not a fail in the US. It's I don't know. Mike?
Well, let's read King Thrasher's comment. He is a PlayStation guy. He says, my opinion is Xbox gamers put this on the too high a pedestal. They called it game of the gen. That formed a huge overestimation. What do you say to that, Mav?
This is my game of the generation. So, and it will take a monumental game to surpass this because it's honestly the most incredible game I've ever played.
Okay.
I mean, that's my answer to that question. So
I say
absolutely fine.
I say there's nothing wrong with people having expectations, especially when given, being told certain things, and if they're not met, you have every right to dock points for what you feel should have been in the game. That's not a problem for me. I get that. But I also understand as well where Mav is coming from when he says that games should be, judged based on what they do provide us. And this game is providing a lot of enjoyment to so many people out there. Obviously, even the ones that scored it a 3 out of 5 are loving the game. Like whether or not it makes sense to you, the score, it's still bringing a lot of enjoyment to people. I'm loving the game too, Mav. So far, it's my favorite game this generation so far as well. But my expectations were not met 100%. I'll say that. There was some shortcomings, and we mentioned that earlier. But aside from those, what I've got to play in this RPG has been incredible so far. So I hope it keeps on. I hear it does, and I hear it even gets better than where I'm at right now. But yeah, that's I can't wait to get back to playing this game. So yeah, it's a great game. Mike, thank you very much for the super chat. He says review scores should not be taken seriously, but you cannot deny the influence it has on the discourse surrounding a game. Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3 were both propelled by Metacritic despite their flaws. That's true. However, there was we basically we knew what we were getting with Elden Ring. We knew what we were getting with Baldur's Gate 3.
Elden Ring, I actually agree with Mike there. Elden Ring did not. That was, if you go cast your mind back, no one expected the reviews that I got. Like
no. We knew what type of game we were getting. An open world Souls
type of game. Yeah. But he's right in the sense that they were propelled by the Metacritic. I feel like that cascaded down the hype, and everyone's like, oh shit, this game is this good. And then everyone ended up buying it. So the core gamers then spread that sentiment out to the masses, and everyone ended up buying a niche game called Elden Ring. It's so funny. And the same thing's happening with Baldur's Gate, that it's selling on PlayStation. It was at the top of their store, it beating even Spider-Man. And why? Because that game is hardly going to be completed by PlayStation guys. It's not the kind of game that they play. This point and click game, but it was propelled by Metacritic. It's constantly in conversation because of Metacritic. So Mike is right.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I don't
Metacritic
agree that reviews shouldn't be taken seriously. That's a broad statement. I think that's factual. Well, I disagree with that. I think some review scores, it depends on the person. And this is why I'm trying to instill in everyone. It's why we built a news aggregation platform. It is why I always say Metacritic, despite me using it always for the sake of conversation, is essentially flawed. My 7 is not your 7, is not the public's perception of 7. Find a reviewer who agrees with you. Find a reviewer, like all the chat people, like I've seen some of the people's ways, the better they admit it or not, they have a very simplistic understanding of scoring, and they just want they just want nines. They look at the score. They don't read the substance of a review, how much time some reviewers spend thinking about formulating their review and the substance of what they're saying. That's why I don't even waste my time putting a review score, because Mav didn't even ask me a question about the content of my review to this point, up until now. But asked me what my score was, because that would judge his assessment of my review. And he then said the 7 would make it disingenuous. which to me is so mind-boggling.
Because I've heard what you said about the game and how much you love it. So for me, a 7 wouldn't make any sense.
For you, it wouldn't, but you've made the leap to
the
say
problem
it's
is that whether there's everybody's 7 is different, right? That's not the overall perception. That's not the overall perception when it comes to aggregate scores, which are weighted, right?
But I'm not a hive mind. I'm a human being.
I get that. But
you
these
said
big
it's a piece of shit.
publications,
It's a shit score, and you didn't need substantiate. I'm still wondering
it would be
what the point is.
disingenuous because I would then put you in the same category as the other people that have given it that score and talked high praise of those games. Like there is an overall perception, and these big publications understand the weight of their score on the aggregate and what they do. Like,
and that's why they
understand their impact that they have.
Yeah, I know,
right?
And that's why they give bonuses out and everything if they get a good Metacritic score. I get all that, and I know it makes an impact overall.
It's a flawed system. I agree. But I wish it didn't exist.
But right? I honestly don't think it should bother you as an individual that much. Like, because you need to.
Stupid. Like they say, let him talk. I'm sitting here silently. I don't understand. Maybe there's
who's saying let who talk?
There's so many people in the chat.
No, you guys have been pretty good about letting each other talk. You guys have said a lot about this situation. Let's get to this King Thrash Gaming super chat here. Thanks for the $5 super chat.
Look, check it. You have to read it like he does. You want me? Can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, Todd Howard made a lot of promises for sure. However, if you as individuals like what you get, game on. If not, then demand better. Frogo, 10 out of 10.
He didn't say Frogo, but he said simple. What do you feel, guys? Look, I'm with you 100%, Thrash, when you say that, you know, if the gamer likes it, then game on. But what about the part that says, if not, then demand better? Because... Gaz, what do you feel about demanding better? Demanding better in terms of what? And Todd Howard not saying as much, or
no.
Like, what are you trying to say there?
It's a brilliant game. It's a brilliant game. They worked tremendously hard on it. I'm not gonna say that. You know, you didn't hear my voice. You missold this. Or whatever. This game does so well in what it's supposed to in many ways, and we fell short in others. All I would want to have a conversation, because I know for a fact, but I know that these features that we're talking about were on the drawing board. There had to be. If you think and cast your mind back to the scale of this game, the premise of this game, it would have been there. And something went by the wayside. I would just like to know what and actually Gene Park, shout out to him, has actually asked this question and the series of questions he says he was on our show yesterday, and he said he asked Todd Howard this, so his interview is coming out, and I'd love to know the answer to it. In terms of demand better, that suggests that we're lied to.
Thank you.
And I don't think that we were lied to. I think they were a little bit misled because you have to sell the game. But I don't think there was any misrepresentation, unlike Halo Infinite. There was no misrepresentation here. It just fell short of our idea of what the game should be in the way they sold it.
Not just that,
but elements.
But that could also suggest that he's saying demand better in your games. And at that point, I would say I'm loving this game. There's nothing for me to demand better of within the game. Like, even I think things fall short. AI. Even though things fall short. Maybe the AI is one thing that I would like them to get better. But
are you playing on, Fonz?
But the normal, whatever the standard.
Yeah. I would suggest putting it at hard. I don't know if it makes a huge impact on AI, but I've noticed that on hard, like, I'm getting flanked. The guys are jumping through windows.
Well, I noticed that sometimes even on normal. That's why I said sometimes it actually looks like they're very smart, and other times, kind of stupid. But overall, I'm just saying, if I had to say, if a game, based on a game anyway that just came out or whatever, if I had to demand better, this would not be the game I would be pointing at saying, I want better than this. It's incredible. Like, demand better for me would be like Redfall. That's a game you want to demand better of.
Yeah, that's or Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
They failed.
Or even Halo Infinite at the beginning.
Yeah.
They should have
the
worked
graphics
that out.
and all that. That's long. That is a clear example. But to take King Thrasher's point further, I think and he's a PlayStation guy. On that PlayStation side of things, I think they should demand better as well, because ultimately they like that formula of games, but they need to do better in multiplayer. You've been given a massive price hike. We spoke at the start of this, $40 for nothing. King Thrash, if you go to your Twitter page, it's all better. Starfield. It's all Starfield. If you're asking for demand better, King Thrash, how much noise have you made about the price increase? If I go on your channel now, I can almost guarantee that there's nothing about the.
These guys, all they do is talk about Xbox. They don't even care about PlayStation at the end of the day.
Exposing Starfield, Todd Howard reacting after Starfield, the glitches of Starfield, Xbox PC modders, Bethesda debate, Starfield, Microsoft feedback to sell. Here's why Xbox Pro is dumb. Xbox, it's all Xbox.
Here's King Thrash.
You're being a bit of a hypocrite, no, King Thrash? You not once have you raised the point about the price hike, unless.
Here's where he clarifies, though. He says demand better equals keep promises, be more honest, and deliver what you advertised at the very least.
This goes for Sony as well. Demand at least what was advertised for our money. Who advertised the $40 increase and what was going to be given to you? It goes both ways, Thrash. Xbox fans are known for this. This kind of discourse is very common in the Xbox circles, because we care about the game.
Do you see? Oh, perfect point, Thrash. Yeah. We're all sitting here and loving this game, but we also argued about this game. Where's this type of discourse you see? Where do you see this type of discourse on the PlayStation side about PlayStation games? Usually it's an echo chamber of, oh, this game's so great, it's so beautiful, it's so wonderful. And when in reality, no. Yeah.
I mean, nobody has. I'll say this about King Thrash. It's just not fair that, King Thrash comes at us all the time, so he can handle it. But at the same time, he's not here to defend himself. Well, he is here, but not in the panel. So I feel a bit. Fuck it. I'm just being soft. I don't know why I have a soft spot for King Thrash.
He's the one that was trying to diminish Starfield's hype by saying you can't land on a gas giant. Why are we wasting any time discussing this man's opinion when he thought you could literally walk on air? I don't understand why that opinion has any value. There's a lot.
It's because of him. I have so much content. That's why I'm grateful.
Possible. It's called
Thank you for your service to the source.
I think we know. I think we know why, because there are a lot of PlayStation guys that wish that they could be playing this on the PlayStation, but until then.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Oh shit! Yep. Oh shit! But this is a great podcast, man.
But no, seriously, it's funny that we mentioned that, though, because I do see a lot of Xbox channels have that discourse about their own games.
Yeah,
and there's arguments and there's tension sometimes, and sure, sometimes there's, oh my god, this game is so great, because when a game is really great and hits everything right, it's great. It's good. It's good to talk about and be positive. I want to be positive about Starfield really quick and just say, I know we were talking about the soundtrack and everything, which is incredible, but it's the overall tone of the game that has really got me. Like when you go to certain planets and the ambience.
Why have you unblocked Other Zinc, by the way? Why the fuck is he here? This guy.
I don't block this guy. I haven't blocked anybody.
He's saying good things.
He's a psycho.
Other Zinc.
Do you remember him? Do you remember this guy? He used
Other
to
Zinc. He's welcome. He's welcome. All these people are welcome. But no, seriously, like the ambience of the game. Certain planets, you get that the ambient music that comes on as you're exploring and stuff. It's so good. It's so freaking good. The tone is set at the very beginning of the game for me, guys. I don't know if you remember, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's not really big anyway, but when it starts, the music and the fade to black, it's beautiful. It set the tone right away.
Trope, very well done.
It reminded me so much of Interstellar and other space movies that we've seen out there that are just incredible.
I would definitely give that bit a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I loved it. 6 out of 10. Can't wait to would play again.
That's the way it goes with Starfield.
King Thrash again with a $5 super chat says, "My newest video destroys Sony in the
Why
price
do you look
hike."
so uncomfortable every time you read?
Just here supporting y'all. LOL. Send the link. I can clear it up.
Oh,
No.
King Thrash is such a fool. Like this guy, when you every time you read a super chat, you feel you look constipated, Fonz. You look like you're about to sound like King Thrash reading a super.
Well, because I'm Thrash. I'm looking at your page now, and every video is like Starfield's terrible. Starfield lied. Todd Howard lied. You know, all this crazy stuff. Like, why are you hating on this game so much? It doesn't make sense.
Bro, that's what he does. That's his he's finessing YouTube. That's his entertainment.
It doesn't make sense.
It's just his entertainment. It's different for him than it is from us. It's for him. It's the entertainment. He's done it. I have been battling King Thrash for over a decade. King Thrash, you probably don't know me on N4G. Me and you've been battling hard. I've been a bot fighting this guy for 10 years on N4G. It's just the way he does it. But you have to understand. Well, I appreciate the entertainment value, but we go back and forth at each other. It gets a bit raw, but it is what it is. But this is the best show you've had. I'm sorry, I love this show.
Well, guys, I look. Yeah, I don't know, Thrash. I don't know, man. Like, you're constantly just crapping on Xbox and all the time. It doesn't. I don't know, man. You need to break free. Like, break free of those chains. I don't know.
Listen to this man. I need the content. Keep doing it.
That's what you got to do. Break free from the chains. Break free from the chains. You know, play the game, enjoy it, like have fun with it. I'm sure you've got a PC or something you can play the game on. Play it. It's a great game. But no, guys, anything other to say about Starfield and the positive, something positive, you know, about the game?
Yeah.
What are you enjoying?
The review scores are trash. The game's
Matt, I'm not going over review scores again. I didn't even want to focus on that today.
I know it
You
got
guys
out of hand. I got out of hand. I'm sorry.
Ham on that today.
It's dude, like I just got to say to just some points about the game, right? This is a game that you can get lost in doing things you never expected to do, and everything you just did felt worthwhile and fulfilling, right? And it's all filled with this amazing ambience and stuff to pick up and do. My wife even is liking this game, and she doesn't usually play games like this.
Yeah.
She, I was making fun of her because she asked me for help, didn't know what was going wrong. She was carrying like 350 pounds worth of useless junk, like plates and stuff. And so she went to her ship and dumped it out. You can see all of that stuff on her
That's
Twitter.
funny.
But like, there's so much enjoyment here, just different stuff to do. And when you think about the amount of fun you had exploring this mine on this one planet and doing this mission, and then you take a step back and realizing how many of those experiences are in this game, it becomes a little bit overwhelming to think about the pure expanse of it all, right? Like, there is so much content here, and it's all high quality. So they did a great job. I'm honestly, it exceeded my expectations. It does have some nitpicky things, right?
Wait, we're not getting back into the nitpicky things. We've done that to death. Yeah.
But the overall scope of it, the ambition of it, matched to the quality, I haven't seen done in a game before.
I haven't seen it done in a Bethesda game before. The polish is definitely way better than any other Bethesda game. But some of the stories that I've come across with some side missions have been awesome. Like, there was this one I did, and I was fighting against the Crimson Fleet, and there was a situation where I was kind of like surrounded and I was being let go, and I went to go talk to their leader, and I was talking to their captain in this crew. So anyway, so I'm talking to him, and we're like, okay, goodbye. I'm leaving. I'm going to leave, right? Instead of just leaving, I just shot him. Bow. Just shot everybody. Killed them all. And I don't know if I was supposed to or not, but yeah, I think I pissed off the Crimson Fleet pretty bad. So
that's the kind of game like you.
I love that. Those choices.
It's a bit inconsistent because, like we talked about this yesterday on our show, that some big world events happen, and some of the AI they just say, "Hey, how you doing?" We're like, the fuck? We just saw this universe destroying, changing event or life changing event, and you just come back and say hi. So that there's execution of that is a bit lackluster, even in the crew and the ship. Like that is almost redundant. Like when they sit down there should be a lot more fluid conversations. Every time and this is a suggestion, Mav, please don't get stressed, but like if you go in and you see a hail coming in or an enemy, it would be good. Like in the Normandy on Mass Effect, you would have a lot of chatter between Jack and all of them.
Yeah.
You don't get that when you have your crew.
A little bit, little bit you do. It's rare. It's rare.
Actually add in future update or future DLC where the crew will start talking in dialogue lines.
I'd like that too. Yeah.
What? Hey, I'll give you suggestions. Like you can use the AI or your crew to do some dialogue options. They can persuade other NPCs in a conversation, right? So they should have extended that in the shipbuilding. That would have been these little touches go a long way, and I think it would be good for that to happen.
So have you come across any stories in these side missions or something that like made you go, whoa, I didn't think I could do that, but I did?
Bro, I mean, that's offering spoilers and I won't offer anything. I will say the side missions that I've come across have challenged the main story. One in particular. And it's so cool the way it does it because they recognize what you've done. And then the NPC will talk about it. And I'm like, well, that's freaking amazing that you factored into what I just did, where I did it. And, that kind of stuff. It's just like, it makes it believable.
Yeah.
And that permanence of it is just, you don't get that in any game.
And this is the reason.
And that's why I love Bethesda.
Yeah. And this is the reason why I love Bethesda RPGs as well, is because they give you these types of choices. I know in Fallout 4, it fell short there big time with the choices.
And I've never completed their games because the jank has stopped it. This is an incredible Bethesda RPG.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to say. It's an incredible Bethesda. It's so good in its combat, which I'll increase the difficulty on to make it a little bit harder.
I'm going to try that too, Mav. I'm going to try that too.
Yeah,
increase the difficulty.
It helps for sure.
But yeah, I think this is why it surpassed. So far, it's a bit better than Elden Ring to me. Elden Ring was my game of the gen so far, but this, it's the choices I'm making. It's the way Bethesda allows me to tackle these missions the way I want to. It's really like, this is what I love about a legit RPG. Like, this is fun. This is fun. Like when I was playing Final Fantasy 16, it's an RPG. But it's lacking so much in those RPG
It's barely
elements.
an RPG, bro. It's Final Fantasy 16, Gears fucking has more RPG elements than that. That game is not an RPG.
And you know what blew me away too in this game is the amount of outfits and stuff that are out there that you can find.
So much
Some
stuff.
Crazy stuff. And I've showed pictures of the outfit that I shared. How am I do that here?
And the amount of guns. There's so many different guns and stuff to find. And you go on a different planet, they got like a bunch of different ones there too, right? Like it's crazy, man. I'm constantly having to weigh my decision about, man, what do I want to carry right now? Because all of these guns look pretty badass, right?
Yeah.
And they feel good too, which is crazy for Bethesda. That exceeded my expectations also. Like the leap they made with the combat from their past games, was like
id Software really must have helped them there in that, because that combat is beautiful.
They've made a statement saying that they just did it internally, they didn't get any help from id. So I don't know. It's crazy.
id Software helped them with. They said that id Software actually did help them with the combat, but it was more the feedback.
They said in a couple interviews that they didn't. I think that's what Fonz told me. That's what Fonz told me.
That may be.
I think the character creation is really good. I tried to make Gandalf here, so I'm currently running around with a Gandalf in the game in space. That's the most epic beard I could get in the game, and they really don't have options for like long hair either, which I wish they did. But anyways, but yeah, I found interesting outfits like this one here. That one was pretty weird, but yeah.
Yeah, they did not help. Like I see some.
They did. They helped out with Fallout. They didn't help with Starfield, actually. Right.
Right.
But yeah, no,
Redfall with Redfall, which they needed to help them a little bit more. I think,
but yeah, I'm absolutely loving the game because of all the immersion that it does give you, and adding to the fact that you can change up your look within the game too is really a nice touch, because I can go in there, change up anytime I want, and I could even go from female to male, male to female, whatever. I can be androgynous. I can wear ridiculous suits like what I showed. That kind of immersion is unseen in many games out there, and I wish that more games would tackle that, would give us more options within our characters themselves as well, outside of just the options within a role-playing game.
This is why that's what it is. My frustration, and I was talking to Jaffe about this, I think he misheard when I asked that question. I think like Sony's template is so droll. They do high production games, they do open world, whatever, but they don't push the bar in areas of it I want, in AI, in physics,
in choice.
And I want them, like the only positive like indication that they might change that is Cory Barlog and Druckmann have suggested that they've looked at Elden Ring and they're gonna adopt that kind of template for their storytelling. Now that doesn't mean that they're gonna increase the complexity of their games, but like that's the thing that's missing in Sony. And Xbox has the other way around. Like you've got your Hellblade fine and the simple whatever, but then you've also got your RPGs, other games that are Avowed, which will do something more systematically different and challenging. And you'll get your Elder Scrolls, which whenever that comes out, and you've got a whole suite of Xbox studios are going to be doing something special. I just feel like Sony's, they're nice one and done. And I know it seems like a meme, but Starfield, you can console all you want, but you can cry and say Ghost of Tsushima's graphics were great, but other than the fact that it's an 83 Metacritic, they're just very simple affairs. You don't have anything like Starfield, and you won't have anything like Starfield on PlayStation.
It's interesting that you mentioned the 83 Metacritic on Ghost of Tsushima, because that actually was my 2020 game of the year. Love that game.
I know. It's like I was talking to Oti. Oti's been laughing it up at the 88 because the perception was if it's 90, because he kind of falls into the trappings of, I get it for console wars, but this is the thing. I'm trying to impart to Mav. Like, I do it consciously because I know it's for console warring, but then I have that internally. I'm like, who cares? It's my score. And you have to not be a slave to that narrative. You have to understand.
For me personally, I don't care what the score is because I know I'm going to experience it, but I care about the impact that those scores have out there and the misperception of them. And that's the problem, right? Okay. It's not about my enjoyment. It's about.
But let me ask you this though, Mav. You're 100% right. You're right. It does give that perception, but who does it usually matter to in the community? It's usually the fanboys that really latch onto that perception.
It gives them fuel, right? Yeah. And then they run with that, and it affects the casual narrative of a game and a perception of something that is just entirely inaccurate. And that's, at the end of the day, like what I have an issue with. It's not
that's what you frustrate you. Okay.
Somebody mentioned that.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna not like this game because it's a 7. Oh, that upsets me. No, I can look at a game and I play games that are 5s and 6s and still like them at times, right? Yeah. I don't care about Dan Stapleton's take on the game because I think he's an idiot anyway.
But
right?
You do.
But I
an idiot.
He's a moron. But
a moron.
He's a disingenuous asshole. I'll go on and say
because
that
he gave it a 7.
No.
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I don't think I'm not going to call anybody an idiot or whatever. I don't know the guy. I've never read a review of that guy, but I've seen where people are showing like his past reviews, and it's weird.
The way it comes at people, yeah.
It's. I will say personally, it's my opinion that his opinions are kind of weird because he gave I think it was Fallout 4 a 9.5.
Yeah,
which
the problem is
let's talk about Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is arguably the worst Fallout. The worst.
76. 76.
No. I'm talking about single player though.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Fallout 4 is just it's a great game. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't give it a 9 though. I wouldn't touch a 9.5. Like it's odd, but again, it's his opinion. I don't care. Like it's whatever, you know.
It's the inconsistency in Dan Stapleton.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think the overreaction is crazy because it's IGN. But I've always side-eyed IGN as an institution, whatever. But it's just the inconsistency. He gives Duke Nukem Forever an 8. He gives this at lower. He gives other Fallout
4 9.5.
And he's given another one. I've saved it in my septic source folder. Where is it? Duke Nukem Forever 80. How the fuck do you reconcile those scores? Fallout New Vegas 66.
What? I haven't even read that. Fallout New Vegas is the best Stapleton. Fallout there is.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't know how to review games.
What?
I agree.
Okay, that's weird.
But the point is,
it's his opinion. Whatever.
By this, by that. But like that's overall, it still affects aggregate. It affects perception.
Yep.
It affects these different things, and that's why I have a problem with morons reviewing games.
I know, but here's the thing, Mav. You know what's good about this whole situation? Here's what's cool. The game is rated pretty high here. We're 88, 87, whatever it is. That's really good. And it's really great. Not really good, really great. And it's great for Xbox. It's also great that a lot of people are playing this game and enjoying this game. A lot. And those same people you are pointing at saying, oh, they gave that a 3. They gave it a 3. They're the same people that are saying they love the game as well. Like, that is all that matters at the end of the day. This game is universally loved. Oh, a lot more than hated. There's more people that love this game than hate it, for sure. I've seen that. That's the general consensus on social media. Yeah, you get the outliers that are just coming in and talking crap because, you know, they can't play the game or something. I don't know what it is. But for me, I'd like to see, you know, that this game is universally loved, you know.
I want to see it loved, but I think it will look, all the reviews, it's still at 88. It's stopping Steam sales.
Yep.
$100 versions. It is killing everything. So, you know, that kind of challenges it. Maybe perhaps you could argue that it would be even higher if it was 90, I guess. I guess we'll never know, but it's doing very well. And ultimately, I think it'll be, maybe for me, not a game of the gen. I don't know. Maybe the end of it will come back as a conversation, but I know it will be.
Where will it sit at the game of the year votes?
I don't think it will win game of the year. I would like it to. It's my game of the year, but I don't think it will win.
Right.
It'll be nominated though, just the way it works.
Yeah, I it's definitely my game of the year so far.
I'll be shocked if it won. I'll be so happy if it did.
But I'm not expecting it because of games out there like Tears of the Kingdom. I think more people have really like been glowing about that game, especially reviewers and everything. And
Baldur's Gate, it's a
Baldur's Gate
significantly
is a big
higher
one too. And
Mav, you were a big fan of Baldur's. You were on our show. You said
I love Baldur's Gate. It is my game of the year so far, up until Starfield, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you something.
And two of them, I got to say, to get both of those in the same year is freaking crazy to me as the kind of gamer that I am, like an RPG fan and like an old school CRPG fan that takes it back to the roots of like the old school BioWare days almost, right? And then Bethesda seeing this kind of game, like what would have been an old school BioWare CRPG game, but made by Larian now, at its like peak, and to see Bethesda at its peak with two new experiences in 2023, it is freaking amazing to me, dude. Like this is an insane year, but Starfield has surpassed it. So.
Ronnie Savage, thank you very much for the $5. He says, Starfield is okay, but I think Sony first-party studios is just on another level, in my opinion, and, of course, Rockstar Studios. I love Rockstar as well. I love Sony games as well, but it's a different type of game than those guys make. It's completely different. I don't compare the two because Bethesda RPGs are just on another level than anything when it comes to choice that the other guys have to offer that you mentioned.
Choice, it depends on what you want. If it's you like high production, really good graphics,
then I go to Sony and Rockstar. I love Rockstar games so much. My all-time favorite game is Red Dead Redemption 2. And I love that game, but it's not the same as a Bethesda game. And that's not saying that, it's worse in any way. It's just, it's not a Bethesda game. It's not an RPG.
20 hours into Starfield, you could just be scratching the surface, right?
I've completed the game, and I'm still feel like I'm scratching the surface.
Right, and that's what a lot of people are saying. I saw, ACG say the same
60
thing.
Hours now, and I'm scratching the surface.
And the difference is, okay, like graphically or story-wise, plot-wise, you would have a more of a narrative-driven focus experience. You can allocate those resources to other things, so your game's 15 to 20 hours long or 25, whatever, right? Like, it's more, if you can pack an experience, you can focus resources on different things. Like the bigger, and this is traditionally, and with the history of gaming, the bigger and more ambitious a game gets, the more different kind of sacrifices you have to make across the board in different areas, right? And it just depends on where they put their focus.
Ronnie said, I read this. That's... sorry. But yeah, no, I'm loving the game, guys. I think it's really good. For those of you waiting till the 6th when it drops, you're going to have a great time with this. Trust me, it's a great game.
My review's coming out.
When?
I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
When is it dropping?
After you just said it's the game of the year.
It could actually happen. It's going to be hard. It had to be a shit year for a 7 out of 10 to be game of the year. It is supposed to drop today, but then I had to do this fucking show. But I'm so glad because actually,
are you gonna I forgot my train of thought here. I was gonna ask you a question, but forget it. I'm old.
Am I gonna be what? I'm making a couple of videos on it. One, I had David Jeffrey on yesterday, and we were arguing constantly about the graphics. He said it's an objectively ugly game. That's a bit of a weird statement to make.
Yeah, Jeffy, I don't agree. Don't agree.
Beauty is subjective. You can't really make that objective ugly claim. Plus, it's a beautiful game, in my opinion. And Digital Foundry, if you think of them as an objective outlet that assess it on its merits.
You really said it's ugly?
Bro, we went back and forth on our show yesterday. He came out. I love him to death. And we were like, I was like, how? And he was like, it looks ugly. He said it's objectively ugly. And we went back and forth on it. And I said, well, you can't say that. Like, they talked about the NPCs.
I'm he had to be being hyperbolic.
I mean, it's hyperbole on his part, but Jaffe did mean what he said. So, yeah. So back and forth. So I'm making 2 videos. One is this. Why am I telling you this? My review. I would urge Mav, of all people in this chat, Mav, to read it and then tell me what it sounds like. The score. I would compel people just to challenge this.
Honestly, I would say that you would have, if you had to put a number on it, it would probably be around 8.5.
Very accurate. That's exactly
right. That's fair. Completely fair.
Take 7.5.
You start to scratch the surface of well, here's the thing. But what I'm saying though, if you read it or if I hear what you're saying and the way you're talking about the game, right, it comes across as one thing.
Okay, we're not doing this again, guys. We're not doing this again. This whole this whole thing is done. Anyways, guys. This show is done. It's over 2 hours, and
no, fuck you. We want to talk about this. For once, your guests really want to carry on, and you're stifling our free. You should be happy that these guests don't want the show to end.
I want to carry. Wait. I want you to carry on about this that you've already carried on about with the scores and the 7 out of 10s for like half an hour. 40 minutes.
7 out of 10.
Hey, listen, we gave you a great show.
You both gave me a great show. I appreciate you both. I do. You're both really good friends of mine, and it's nice to have you both on. I like that there was kind of a yin and yang here. There was some opposing opinions, and I don't always like to have an echo chamber, and it doesn't make for a fun show.
That. I desperately look for that, and I rarely get it on our show. But I got it yesterday, and I got it today on your show, which is great. That's the way it's my profession. I have to have a bit of conflict. So it's good.
So yesterday, you had that talk with Jaffe yesterday. I have to watch that one. I have to go back and watch that because I knew you had another guest on Gene Park.
Gene Park, he had to leave early. He was there for an hour and a bit. It was the longest show we did, almost 4 hours. And Gene Park agreed with everything. So Gene Park is very interesting. Look, he gave it a perfect score, 4 out of 4. And he said he read Dan Stapleton's review and he said it was fine. He said, like, I understand. Like, it was a really good review. But he said no one is focusing on GameSpot's review, which is, he said, crazy, because they said crazy things in that review.
Enlighten me. What
I didn't read Game, but he said something about the story being crap. Like the GameSpot guy said the story is boring and it was rubbish or something. Something I'm paraphrasing, but that's what
There's
you're saying.
There's a little bit of like extra focus on IGN because the leading up, the couple weeks that have led up to it. That's the thing that with Jasper and Max Scoville, and then you have like IGN doing other things, and Dan Stapleton that has a history also of just making statements about Xbox and all this kind of stuff. Also, it's like easier to just forgive the one random like dumbass review when instead it's like if you focus on IGN, it's like the history there has more of an
Stella
impact.
came out 2 days before that as well and saying I haven't played the game, but I think it's poor. And it's like prepping everyone because she obviously knew what Dan was going to give it. So that, you know, IGN just act like fucking
I also saw like Paul Tassi and people like that actually that gave this game a good score be like say on Twitter like there's no way that this game is a 7. Like,
well, they're talking about their opinion again.
Like, fucking quoting Paul Tassi of all people.
Yeah, Paul, I was surprised.
Well,
but I was looking at his
that's Paul Tassi. He will give a lot of 7s to Xbox games.
Yeah, but disagree with. He would. Yeah, but on this one, he graded it like it should have been.
I'm surprised that Gene gave it a 4 out of 4.
Gene said at the start he didn't really like resonate with him, and then at the end of it, he just felt the game like everything it was trying to achieve, and his review is really good. You should actually read it. But I will say this: I understand everyone's perception. I understand Metacritic perceptions completely. I am in the nucleus of the console war. But I will say, if someone gives it a 7, they can do that justifiably, and do it in the contents of their words. There is no objective standard. I challenge that vociferously. You cannot say that. Do not fall to the trapping of the console war and make that narrative a reality. You can do that. I could give it a 7 right now and I could justify it, but then it would be insincere because I feel a certain way about it.
We could sit here.
Admit it would be disingenuous. You said insincere.
If based on what I've said, but you haven't even read my review, so you can't make that. You didn't even read my review, and you said it was disingenuous. It's such a wrong thing to do,
the things you're saying about the game.
Okay.
But you haven't read my review.
This is going round and round.
I read your headline of your review.
My headline was just a summary. Mav.
But the real question is, what did Stevivor give it?
Don't know.
Wait.
What about Dreamcast guy? What did he give it?
Spider-Man. Oh, fuck that guy.
What?
Wait to.
He seems like a nice chap.
If you want to talk about disingenuous, him, Reforge, all of these lot, they are disingenuous.
Reforge, sure. Don't even mention Reforge. That's charlatan. E-beggar.
I can't wait for the Spider-Man reviews. King Thrash, you best not come at anyone, any reviewer who gives shits on it. That copy and paste game is going to get something. I can tell. I can taste it. A review is going to give it, Survivor's going to give it a 6, and I'm going to be there fucking masturbating on Mav's chest as he celebrates a 7 out of 10 for Spider-Man 2.
On that note, it's the end of the show, people. Thank you for showing up today. Mav, thank you for being here. Tell everybody where they can find you. I appreciate you, man. I know we didn't have just a smooth show today without any kind of discourse, but it was great. It was fun. Where can they find you?
Yeah, check out on YouTube, Fun Speculation, where we have multiple shows. We got FSP, which is Fun Speculation Podcast, Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern. We got Fun Pop, which is our movie and TV show podcast. It's coming back this week. Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. We got PM in the PM with Pong Soul and I at 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. And then Friday, Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern time as well. Lots of shows, lots of streaming and different stuff there. Appreciate everybody. Go check it out. Again, it's Fun Speculation, and also the same on Twitter or whatever it's called now.
Gaz, thank you very much for spending some time with us. Sorry about the time situation. I didn't realize that I wrote 3 p.m. in the YouTube, but I changed it up, after you told me. But anyways, thank you for being here, man. Where can they find you?
They can find me at Game On Daily, one word, gameondaily.com, where my written reviews at the front page. So you can go all the way to the bottom and find out it hasn't got a review score and completely ignore it, like Mav did. I'm just being a dick. I've got a video coming out. That's my video review. It's not just a copy and paste like IGN do of what I've written in the script. I've embellished on it, some like good music, some of it mine, some of it the games. And I've also got a supercut on my personal channel called Septic Sauce, where I show everyone how beautiful this game is. It's going to be a good song I've picked, and just cutting flyby through a beautiful game. And I wouldn't do this if I didn't believe this game is fucking beautiful.
Did you?
So I can't wait.
Did you say flyby?
Like a fly.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. No, thank
you.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody that watched today live. Thank you to everybody that's listening to this. Hopefully you don't have your earbuds on too loud with the argument that happens in between there. Mav got a little loud. Gaz got a little loud. I thought I was going to have to be referee and just break you apart for a second there.
That's what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah, there's no anger there. It's just
Matt was about to get up and throw the headphones off.
Fuck, he was like, "Fuck you! Do you want a dock? I'll fucking dock you in a bit." Yeah. It was like crazy.
So I'll show you how to dock. Bend over.
I'll show you how to dock, motherfucker.
All right. Anyways, guys, until next time, game on.